Wow. Thanks everybody. Dan Rivers, Rivers Capital Group. Appreciate you having me up here today. I want to talk a little bit about the local market and then a little national news. I don't know if anybody's been keeping up in the national news, but there's some pretty cool, interesting things happening. So nothing's really changed. Days on market for the most part. Median sales price has been hovering around 410. It's back down to about 400,000 here in Charleston. I think some of the pretty cool data is that Charleston County's median sale price is 575, Berkeley is 380, and Dorchester is 368. Just kind of keep that in mind. As far as sales, we talk about the inventory spiking again this fall. It's kind of common, it always happens. We're about 3,300 on the active listings. Last year, this time was 3,600, so it's really no different. We're talking about, hey, these interest rates really made things crazy over here. There's a lot more on the market. It's very similar to the past year. It's pretty much almost all categories within about 5% from last year to this year. So as of December 2nd, there's about 2,200 single-family homes on the market, and about 700 of those are new builds. So we're only talking about 1,500 homes in the market here in the Charleston Tri-County, including Colleton County. Median days on market is still 16, but 54% of homes have been on for about 45 days, and about 30% of homes for 90 days. So homes are sitting a little bit. I'm sure any realtors in here, any flippers in here have kind of seen that happen. I don't know, it's a lot of the good news coming in. I listened to Housing Wire. Was it Barry Habib? There's been a lot of analysts here talking about how interest rates are, the Fed's probably done with raising them. We might see a lot of dips next year. I'm very bullish on 2024. I think there's a lot of data showing that hopefully we'll have a good spring, get pretty hot. Between interest rates going down, inventory still staying low. But some of the national things I kind of want to talk about for a minute was, shout out to Jack over at Consistent Capital. I'll give him a shout out, he's here. He tossed this podcast to me, but Barry Habib was talking about basically for every 1 point lower on the interest rates, it brings about 5 million more people into the buyer market. So if we do see 6 rate drops like some predictions are, or whatever happens, we may see another 5 million people going into the buyer market for next year. Not to mention forming households, which are kids finally moving out of their parents' house, or divorcees, or in the case that's a new household, a new forming household. You have about 2 million of those a year, and builders right now, including multifamily, are about 1.4 million being built each year. So when you take those numbers into play, just your new buyers coming into the pool, as well as if the interest rate drops, the buyer pool is going to increase again, and our inventory is still very, very low. We're about 50-60% lower than what it was pre-COVID here in Charleston and pretty much throughout the United States. So we could see another booming spring market coming in here. If interest rates drop a little bit, we get a little bit more buyer motivation. So I think we could see a pretty interesting spring to 2024. I also don't know how many people have heard this, but there was a bill. Shout out to Rob Wade on this one. I will give credit to people who gave me some information, but there was a bill that was just introduced to the House that would prevent hedge funds from buying single-family homes, and it would give them 10 years to sell them back, get them back out of their portfolio. Again, this is a bill that was just proposed. Not saying anything's going to pass, but as you see, I'm sure a lot of people saw Blackstone, BlackRock. I forget how much they raised to buy a bunch of homes over in Europe. JP Morgan, there's been a lot of hedge funds that are starting to really build up their funds to start buying heavily in single family, and I think this was just a reaction by the politicians just to say, hey, okay, we're going to try to slow down this, because I think it's somewhere around 80% of single family investments are mom and pop people like us that are just trying to build a portfolio and build more wealth for our family. So just keep an eye on that. I think that's very interesting. And core inflation, we finally hit that 2-year low. It's kind of flattened out, and as you see, unemployment's still good. As we talked about all those factors, I highly recommend listening to Logan over at Housing Wire. The guy's an absolute freaking genius as far as like all his data that he puts out there, and just he's very bullish now that it's been 5 weeks in a row. Rates kind of settling in, inflation kind of settling in on what our future looks like in 2024. Of course, I can't predict anything, but that's the local and national data. I do want to call out good friend and business partner Mike Savage with Synergy Stays, our short-term rental company. He's going to give you some short-term rental stats and some market data there.
Thank you. Get rid of one Boston accent, now you get another one. Like Dan said, I work with him and Jake on short-term rentals. It's what I do. Specifically, I spend a lot of time nowadays on revenue management. So I wanted to put a little bit of data up there, hopefully some valuable stuff. It's a little unconventional, some of the figures I'm going to share, probably not what you're expecting, but I think it'll make a strong point for you. Charleston area in 2022 had 7.7 million visitors. It was an all-time record. So we're looking at more than 7.5 million visitors to Charleston each year. If you own a short-term rental, you've got 365 nights. That's all you have, right? So my point is, if you have a short-term rental, if you're at 80% occupancy, which is pretty damn good, pretty solid, your average length of stay is about 3 nights, which is pretty typical. You've got 97 bookings you're trying to fill. 7.5 million people, 97 bookings. One of the biggest mistakes that I see with a lot of traditional investors entering into the short-term rental market is I see so many listings like on Airbnb that look like great MLS listings. People that are booking a vacation rental home are very different than people that are trying to buy a home. I'll give a quick example. I have a converted shed in my backyard. It has no washer dryer, no dishwasher, no granite countertops, no LVP, yet it outperforms all the other one-bedroom studio units in North Charleston. How is that? I've said this to a lot of people here already, I know, but different is better than better when it comes to short-term rentals, right? It's so important to be different, to be and stand out. I'm not trying to appeal to 7.7 million people with my shed in my backyard. I know exactly who I'm trying to reach, right? It's 25 to 35-year-old solo travelers, couples. They want a unique local experience. They care about quality, but they're not looking for luxury. They don't have pets. They don't have families. Like, I don't care about those people. I don't care about people with children. They're not even allowed because it's not safe. We have a ladder. I don't care about older people. I don't mean to sound harsh, but I'm not trying to reach all of them. I know who I'm trying to reach, and am able to exceed and do better in terms of occupancy, average daily rate, RevPAR, all that, because of that. So that's my message tonight for so many investors in here. But you got to take everything you've learned and your knowledge with flipping and listing properties and stuff, and set that aside because the short-term rental world is just so different. Like, if I could take a $1 million home here in the Charleston area, and then I could take a house built out of Legos, like a house, Dan and Jake would rather list that $1 million home on MLS any day of the week. But if you give me that Lego, like, I will cash flow the shit out of that Lego house on Airbnb, right? Like, that's the difference. So I'll drop one more quick stat just to help you all. I know probably a lot of people in here have short-term rentals.
Who has short-term rentals in here? Who has them? Yeah, that's probably like 50%.
How many are in North Charleston? Good. Okay. I know a lot of people have entered the North Charleston market. Quick tip, when you go up tonight, take a look at your calendars. April 19th to the 21st. Typical market occupancy for North Charleston that far ahead in April is like less than 5% a night. But that weekend, you're already over 40% occupancy, so there's like 820 something short-term rental in North Charleston. 40% of those are already booked for that weekend. You've got
Why is it?
Monster Jam at the Coliseum and the High Water Festival at Riverfront Park that weekend. So check your calendar. If you're already booked, hopefully you had your rates up, because if you didn't, you lost money. If you're not booked yet, you're probably looking at like double or triple your rates, depending where you're at. And of course, if you have a pricing software, at this point it's done that for you, but that's a good point to be made too, is that software can only react to market trends. So if you don't see that ahead of time and set that minimum pricing, you're really looking at an opportunity to lose some revenue.